Hey fellow vampires, my name is Ulti and today I wondered something. Am I able to beat V Rising when only playing in the sun? So, after making a private game set to Swedish summer, very long days and normal difficulty, I started my adventure. In the character creation, I thought it would be fitting to name our vampire Sunny, give her yellow hair with some cool sunglasses to protect her eyes from the sun, and I was off. However, before we continue, I should set some rules for myself. The first rule is that I can only play during the daytime of the game, with one single exception. You might know what I'm talking about, but when we get there I will explain. This also means that I will use the command console to skip every single night in the game by adding time. The second rule is that I can never be higher level than any V Blood boss fight I fight. And the final rule is that if I have the opportunity to not kill V blood bosses in caves, buildings, etc., I must do so. I know not every boss can be dragged outside of the location they are in while covered in shade. However, when I can fight them openly in the sun, I must do so. I will show you what I mean with this very shortly. Okay, so with the rules set, it's time to start Sunny's adventure. After getting out of the graveyard, it is time to do the first boss already. The alpha boss is a boss that I normally always beat first at level 10, just so I can move around quicker. However, I ran straight into a caravan. Of course, at level 10, in the sun, fighting a group of enemies ranging from level 16 to 26, I knew it was not going to be easy. However, getting some potential books and other goodies meant I had to try this. This already turned into a wake-up call. And after resetting a couple of times and dying once, I managed to get all the shiny treasure inside. A couple of books, some copper ores and coins. It was well worth the time. Anyway, now it was time to do Alpha Wolf. At least I thought it was. During my trip over there, I ran into Lydia the Chaos Archer, and even though she's level 30, I knew if I just kept it clean I would be able to kill her. While I was fighting her, Alpha Wolf also decided to join the party. With the help of Lydia, we took care of Alpha Wolf rather fast, however had a bit of bad luck. So, while you're drinking V-Blood bosses, you are immune to damage. When you finish it, your immunity goes away, and right at that moment the last of Lydia's 3 arrow volley hit me, taking my health down to 15% in one go. And with Lydia still around 80%, I knew I could not afford to take any more hits. Of course, resetting would be the easy way out, however I believed if I played it nice, I would be able to kill her without taking any damage. And even though the fight seemed to last forever, and pulling 2 mobs that were camping in the woods, she finally died, only 7 minutes after I pulled her. Killing Lydia this early gave me access to the longbow, which is by far my favorite weapon in the game. So all I had to do was kill the 3 level 20 bosses and I would be able to craft it. But first I wanted to make a base, and I thought it would be fitting to create a castle heart in the place where I built my Starshine castle. After putting the basics down and getting to level 20, it was time to hunt the 3 level 20 bosses. And Keely is the closest one to my base, and here is where I wanted to explain my final rule. In the bandit trapper camp where she is located, there are 3 tents. It would be extremely easy just to pull Keely in one of these tents and kill her there. However, it would be more challenging to kill her outside. So that's what I'm gonna try to do with every single boss. When I have the option to kill them in the open, I will do so. Again, I got very low hit point early on by some stun damage. However, that did not stop me from killing Keely very fast. On my way to the next boss, I stopped quickly at the shady merchant camp and managed to pick up the book for Merciless Copper Longbow, and I was on my way to the bandit logging camp. And here I made a mistake. You see, I saw a 50% blood broth, and I drank this. However, by doing so I outleveled the boss. Brute blood of 30% or higher quality give you an extra gear level. As you see, after drinking the blood I was level 21, and here I broke my own rule without realizing it since Rufus is level 20. This meant I outleveled Rufus, breaking my second rule. I came to the realization later at the bandit copper mine that I made this mistake. So even though I killed Rufus here, I promise you I will make up for this later. This also means I have to be a bit careful when drinking brute blood. After killing Rufus, I also found a golden chest, which gave me a cloak with some sun resistance, which is of course very helpful for this challenge. After a quick stop at base, I went back out and on the hunt for the bandit copper mine boss, Aral the Stonebreaker. I thought it would be handy to track Gors Wine on the way, since she patrols between the two graveyards. And I don't want to fight her on the graveyards because they are covered in shade. I want to fight her in the open. Luckily, I did find her patrolling, which gave me the chance to take her out. While I was fighting Gors Wine, a caravan decided to join the fight, and Gors Wine was so kind to help me out take out the caravan. After that, I took care of the little piggy, and Gors Wine unlocked for me one of my favorite spells that goes with the longbow, namely the Corrupted Skull. I really enjoy the Necromancer Archer build in this game, and the spell goes so well with it. When I reached the copper mine, I realized the mistake I made earlier, and that I was higher level than Rufus, but also Aral. So I decided to quickly drink some shitty 3% rogue blood before I got to the boss to get my level down, so I would not outlevel Aral anymore. On the way I found a trippy mushroom, and I had an idea for that later. Anyway, Aral is one of those bosses which cannot be fought outside. When you try to pull him out of the pit he patrols, he will reset. So this boss is unfortunately not any different than normal. I quickly disposed of him, and after mining some copper I went back to the logging camp. I had to fix my mistake. This time I was level 20, I had a shitty 3% rogue blood, and I decided to eat a trippy mushroom while fighting the boss. I also used the same spells I did before, just to prove that the one level extra did not matter. And even though I was tripping while fighting Rufus, he went down fairly simple. Afterwards, I went back to base and made my longbow, which got me to level 23. Now I'd set my eyes on the boss in the bandit sulfur quarry, Clive. While fighting Clive, I accidentally pulled some extra mobs, which I disposed of by blowing them up, hitting the explosive boxes around the quarry. I only had one problem though. My level was not high enough to mine the sulfur, so I tried to have Clive blow up the sulfur ores with his explosive, which worked really well. After Clive was defeated, I quickly looted some chests, cleaned up the camp where this happened. I wanted to blow up the enemy NPCs by using the explosive boxes, but I kinda blew myself up as well in the process. Let's see that again in the replay. Yes, that was very silly. After quickly collecting my corpse, it was time for the next boss. However, before I got there, something else happened which was rather silly. I saw a gemstone ore, and when I was mining it, a corpse ball ate me and spat me out one tier higher and next to another gemstone ore. This also reset the corpse ball, which I thought was kind of funny. Anyway, I quickly killed some bears and went to a graveyard to collect some materials I needed for making my gear later, and then I moved on to Grayson. Nothing noteworthy really happened here, and he went down fairly simple. After buying another book at the Shady Traders, it was time to get back to base and level up to 31. But while I'm making the gear, I thought it would be handy to take out Nibbles before I would outlevel him. He was not much of an issue. Now it's level 31, and I wanted to finish up the zone starting in the east with Ferocious Bear Kodia. This is another boss that cannot be brought out in the sun. When you try to pull her outside of the cave, she resets. So I quickly made work of her, and afterwards I went north to what I thought would be one of the trickier bosses in Act 1, namely Finn the Fisherman. This because there's not a lot of shade to work with and he summons a ton of ads. However, to my own surprise, I defeated him without taking any damage at all. Afterwards I quickly took care of Nikolaus the Fallen, which can also not be fought in the sun, and then it was only 2 bosses left to finish the first act. Probably the hardest 2 bosses in Act 1 in this challenge, since there's hardly any shade. First up was Quincy the Bandit King. After making my way through the bandit stronghold, he was the first really tricky boss, just simply because there's hardly any shade to work with and he was 6 levels above me. Even though I took a few hits, he fell relatively simple. Afterwards I realized that I forgot to unlock my first ultimate, which you unlock by defeating Nikolaus. Anyway, the last boss in Act 1 is Polora the Feywalker. Again a tricky boss because there's just not a lot of shade, and even though she healed herself a couple of times and her minions with her spells, she fell on the first attempt. Afterwards I went back to base and I geared myself to level 40 ready for Act 2, which will come in the next video, and I'm sure that the future will bring greater challenges than Act 1. I hope you enjoyed this first part of Sunny's adventure and hope to see you next time for the second part. If you liked this video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to join our Discord server for some more V-Rising content. See you next time.